The Cleveland Cavaliers select Evan Mobley.
Has been a historical franchise in this league for years.
We have a trade to announce. The Boston Celtics select Jason Tatum.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Boy, we've got a ton of NBA trade rumors. The trade deadline, we're almost there, coming up February 10th. We've got a lot to dive into. Everything is heating up, which is the exact opposite of what the U.S. men's national team is going to be dealing with tonight when they take on Honduras. It's 2 degrees where they're playing right now at about noon. Oh, I do not envy those guys who are going to be out there on the pitch in shorts and t-shirts.
Yeah, at least it's hopefully much colder for Honduras than it is for the US, but it's not. Once you get that cold, no one is comfortable, right? No one's like, oh yeah, this feels great, like let's go. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Like that's gonna be miserable, and I would not want to be there watching that game in person either. Like that's just not a fun experience, because that's the kind of cold. Once you get that cold, that like takes like a day to then like shake it off and like feel warm again. So yeah, good luck USMNT, but let's see where it goes from there.
I've seen the argument that they should be better than Honduras regardless of where they play. So why play it in conditions like that?
Good point.
And so, I've seen that, but then the flip side is, do you try to make your opponent as uncomfortable as possible? We'll see, whatever, get the win and we'll be happy. But anyway, let's talk some basketball. So
yeah, let's do it.
Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report dropped a huge article today with all kinds of trade news. And I guess the spot to start is with Domantas Sabonis and now a connection to the Washington Wizards. The Wizards have been sliding in the standings. They've got a lot of incentive to be aggressive here at the trade deadline. They're a team that at one point was in the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they've got to worry about keeping Bradley Beal happy. So out of all the suitors out there, Washington now potentially emerging as a landing spot for Sabonis. Keith, what do you think about that connection? Is that the right target for the Wizards? And what does a trade package look like if we were to kind of put the pieces together to land Sabonis in Washington?
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of them getting Sabonis. I think he's great. I mean, I'm a huge fan. Go look at his numbers over the last month or so. He's been ridiculous. He's kind of just shy of what Jokic is doing, which is MVP level crazy stuff. Now he's missed some time in there. He had a sprained ankle. He also missed a little bit of time with being in the COVID protocols, but he has been very, very good. I apologize. Something stuck in my eye. It's shedding a tear over Domantas Sabonis, fellow Lithuanian like myself. But anyway, it is. His game fits perfect in Washington. Would be a great offensive partner for Beal. You'd need to build out your defense around those 2 guys, but you kind of general approach in the NBA is build out your offense and then get the defensive pieces to plug in alongside them later. But it's that second part. What does a trade package look like? That's where it gets tough. Pacers want basically what the Bulls gave up for Nikola Vucevic. They want 2 first-round picks and a young player. Now those picks can have some protections on them, but that's what they want to get. So let's see if where that goes. And I think that's a fair asking price if I'm the Pacers. Sabonis is both better than Vucevic and he's much younger than Vucevic as well. So that seems to be the part that makes sense. So I struggle to get there because are the Pacers going to want Dinwiddie? Are they going to want Kuzma? Are they going to want, any of the bigs,
Trez.
Bryant or Gafford or Montrezl Harrell? Yeah, that's where it gets tricky. I guess if you're the Pacers and your whole plan is like, let's just be kind of good again for the playoffs, then yeah, maybe you can get there and throw a whole bunch of guys at them and stuff, and then some picks, and that's where it would go.
What about a guy that you and I both liked a lot years ago back in Summer League? I remember vividly us sitting in Las Vegas and talking about Rui Hachimura. What kind of value does he have at this point? I know it's not what it once was, but could that be a player that might pique the interest of the Pacers?
Yeah, I think what becomes interesting is
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of him anymore. It's like he's missed so much of this season due to be kind of mysterious about what kept him out. It's hard to get a real read because that front court is just so stupid packed with players. Like he doesn't play enough when since he has been back. Like I really struggle to see, does he have that kind of value? I guess I'm almost struggling to even put it in words because I don't know where you get with him. I would push for Denny Avdia
Mm-hmm.
if I could. If
Yeah.
I was the Pacers, if I was the Wizards, I would want to hold back. Right? We just said if you're gonna have Sabonis and Beal as your centerpiece, you need to put defenders around them, and Avdia is proven to be at least a fairly solid defender. So I just don't know that Hachimura does anything for me if I'm the Pacers, because presumably I'd still have Miles Turner. I'd have TJ Warren coming back next year. Like, I just don't know that he's then the guy. Like, do I feel great about that being the piece of my return? I mean, maybe if you look at it and you do your background and feel good about it, then sure, why not? Right? As long as you're going to get the 2 picks as well.
I was thinking of him more as maybe he's the piece that you add in from the Wizards side to push it into the end zone, right? As not like the centerpiece of the deal, but as something that you can add in order to potentially get a deal done as a sweetener, that type of thing for him. But be interesting to see what happens here. Now, Bradley Beal apparently is now more willing to consider potentially a trade from the Washington Wizards. Now, given the timing, you can certainly,
Mhm.
surmise that Beal, this could just
Sure.
be putting a little bit more pressure on, like, hey guys, I might really ask for a trade, so you better get something done here. This could just be Beal trying to put a little more pressure on the Wizards to make sure that they do get a deal done. There's also a rumor out there that he
Mhm.
is planning on signing an extension with the Wizards this offseason. So that's good news. I mean, look, the Wizards want to keep Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal wants to be in Washington. Bradley Beal just wants the Wizards to put together a winning team in order to do so, and it's on the Wizards front office to figure out a way to get that done. I think Sabonis would be a step in that direction. The question is, can they beat whatever else is out there on the trade market? That's something we have to remember. As frustrated as
Mhm.
individual fans get, like with, hey, we should have traded for this guy. Well, yeah, but every other team in the NBA has an opportunity to bid for that player as well. And so the question isn't,
Exactly.
is your trade
Yep.
package enough? It's, is your trade package better than what else is out there?
Yeah, and it becomes a point of, at some point you have to just walk away. You can't just continually say, I know people look at these things where, well, if it keeps Beal around, then give up 3 first round picks for Sabonis if that's what it takes to beat somebody else's offer. And at some point, you have to look at it and be like, man, that's 6 years out. Like, we don't even know. Like that could be beyond Beal's next contract. If you go there, so that's where you just have to kind of keep that stuff in mind. Now, I do want to add, Josh Robbins, he's the beater for the Athletic who covers the Wizards. I know him from his time. He covered the Orlando Magic for a long time. And David Aldridge kind of teamed up to look at where things are at. One of the things is the Wizards, he says, sources have heard no indication the Wizards
Mm-hmm.
are seriously considering trading Beal. But there's less unanimity among league sources about what Beal wants to do going forward. And basically, they're saying kind of what you were hinting at is Beal is kind of on the fence more than he has been in the past. We go all the way back to this offseason, it was still, I want to be here. This is where I want to be. I don't want to go anywhere. And now it feels like, and he did do an interview with NBC Sports where he said, another playing appearance, that's a step back. That's not where I want to be. So this is all kind of being like leading towards, you got to do something, or you need to start being prepared for Bradley Beal final months with the Wizards maybe playing out right now.
And as you said that, somewhere, I don't know exactly where he is physically right now, but Daryl Morey just became like aware. He just heard, like, did you ever watch Highlander? How they could like sense when another one of them is near. Like Daryl Morey just had one of those moments where like a
Yep.
sixth sense just went off and he went, "What? Bradley Beal is yes."
I would say a cold shiver ran down
A
his spine,
warm
but I think that
shiver.
would be a warm shiver or something like
Anyway,
that.
if Beal does hit the market, there's going to be no shortage of teams that are interested. But again, I think that the preference for all parties is going to be make the Wizards a contender right now, and then Beal stays, he's happy. And I think the Wizards are, I think the Wizards, they're going to do something. They're going to do something here at the trade deadline. If they didn't, it would be a surprise because they are one of the teams that is most incentivized to get something done.
Even beyond just the Beal related stuff. I mean, let's look at it right now because I just looked at their game from yesterday and did their depth chart. Daniel Gafford's out of the rotation for now. Now, that's because they're kind of showcasing Thomas Bryant to show he's healthy and back and ready to go. But Davis Bertans has not been playing in the last few games. And that's a lot of money sitting on your bench. So just 4-5, just guys who play the 4 and the 5. It's Bryant, Gafford, Harrell as all primarily 5s, more than 4s. Then you have Kuzma, Hachimura, Bertans, and even to some extent Denny Avdia as 4s. That's just too many guys. You can't have that many guys. Even take Avdia out of that mix, you can't have 6 guys to play 2 positions in a league where you increasingly go small. That's where, something's going to happen there. We've got the Spencer Dinwiddie stuff that's floating around out there. I think now they may be outside of the teams like OKC, who's clearly going to take on some money. They may be one of the teams I am more certain will make a trade than just about anybody approaching the next week and a half.
Agreed. All right. Let's move on from the Washington Wizards and let's talk a little Harrison Barnes, the player that we have agreed will fit just about anywhere. You can plug him into a lot of different places. He's almost like Jeremy Grant light. I don't know that his impact as a player is that much less, but there's definitely less buzz around Harrison.
I think he's better.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of shooting, right?
I think he's better than Jeremy Grant. I think he's
a little older. He's a little older, so maybe that's a little bit of a factor. But there's more buzz around Jeremy Grant, certainly, than Harrison Barnes right now. But sure. Harrison Barnes, a primary target for the Utah Jazz, but Joe Ingles' injury might complicate things. Like now, Joe Ingles is he's just an expiring contract, 0 production on the court, so that can certainly change the value of a package from the Utah Jazz. But Harrison Barnes' landing spot, ultimately, if the Utah Jazz can get it done, I like that fit for them a lot. I think he makes a lot of sense. But then again, like I said, you can name just about any team out there that has any goal of making the playoffs, and I could say, yeah, he makes sense there.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wrote a piece for Celtics blog, posted it right as we got started recording, where I made a pitch that they should be going after Harrison Barnes because he makes a ton of sense for them. And yeah, you're right on the Ingles part now. He's looking about for a month or so. Ricky Rubio is now just a expiring salary match. That's where Joe Ingles is, unfortunately. But let's be realistic. If you were the Kings, Joe Ingles was only ever going to be an expiring salary match for you. He wasn't gonna. They weren't. My guess is they would have bought him out and let him do what he would have done anyway. So yeah, it is very, very interesting to see how the Kings approach this now. They don't seem to be setting all that high of an asking price on Harrison Barnes either. It seems to be a first-round pick, give us a young player, and help us clean up our salary sheet a little bit. And if that's the case, if that's where they want to go, there should be 15 teams trying to in on Harrison Barnes. I just think super plug and play. But yeah, let's see where this one goes. Utah, as you said, perfect fit there. What I would do in that situation is move Bojan Bogdanovic into the 6th man role that Ingles had and play him just like you played Ingles in that role. And then that gives you, good offense, defense balance in your starting group and gives you Bogdanovic still going to get his 30 minutes a night, just going to get him slightly different. And that's a guy who could just destroy
Harrison
second
Barnes
units.
To me is almost like in this trade market is a more wing-based version of John Collins in terms of a guy who the rumors out there in terms of what the asking price is, it sounds so reasonable that it's hard to see him not moved by the deadline, because you'd have to think that some team will be willing to give up what it would take to get that player. Now, again, I'm not saying I think the Hawks should ask for more than what the rumors are for John Collins, and I think the Kings maybe should ask for more, but for Harrison Barnes. But if the asking price really is what we're hearing, I'd have to think teams would say, yeah, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would hope, right? If it's that's all it takes, you have to. There's no reason to not do that, because this is like
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant. They want all sorts of stuff for Jeremy Grant, and then you have to pay him $120 million too, because that's what he sounds like he's gonna demand, and he wants this super big role where Barnes is like, "Hey, get me on a contender, and I'll play whatever role you need me to play," and off we go. So yeah, I would, for a multitude of reasons, I would much prefer going and trading for Harrison Barnes than Jeremy Grant, considering the salaries are just about equal for this year and next. Like it's game fit role, and the contract going forward. Just give me Barnes over Grant
That's
all day.
fair. The Cavs are, as expected, looking to trade Ricky Rubio's deal. Obviously, Rubio will not play again this season, but expiring contract, and they're looking to use that on the trade market. And they are looking specifically for a perimeter player. Again, according to Jake Fisher, they have made calls on both Eric Gordon and Karis LeVert, but they found the asking price too high. In both cases, you've got in the Houston Rockets case, they want a first, and the Cavs are saying, well, we'll do 2 seconds. And the Rockets are saying, no, we think we can get a first. And then in the Pacers case, the Pacers want more than a first, and the Cavs are reportedly asking or offering 2 seconds. They don't want to part with that first round pick. It's what happens this time of year, though. Every team believes that every single one of their players is worth at least a first round pick, if not more. This guy's the 13th player on my bench. Now he's worth a first, right? That's the way you're at. And then as we get a little bit closer to the deadline, teams budge a little bit towards each other, and then that's how a deal gets done.
Yeah, exactly. And in both of these cases too, and I'll throw the Orlando Magic in this group as well, of they're looking for a first round pick for Terrence Ross and all this stuff. These are, yeah, I know LeVert and Gordon start and Ross comes off the bench, but for on a contender, those guys are probably bench players, all of them. But that's like saying, hey, these are bench scorers on bad teams, which is a complete luxury. You don't need that on a bad team, right? That's like having a really good closer on an awful baseball team. Like it just isn't something you should be paying for. But you put the asking price there, knowing, hey, we can take this all the way till 2:30 on next Thursday if we need to, and then say, all right, 2 seconds, done, and off we go with that. But yeah, I mean, hold and ask. But I think the bigger thing is Cavs. They're going to come away from this with some form of scoring option at the guard position for sure. I feel really confident on that. Also, how crazy is it that the Rockets can say, I want a first round pick for Eric Gordon, and we're not like, are they insane?
He's been good.
We're not even going there, right? I think we're both like, that might be a little steep, but that's how good he's been this year. Like that just seems bananas to me. Because a year ago, I would have been like, yeah, right, a first round pick for Eric Gordon. Like, yeah, okay. What first rounder are you also sending?
If I'm the Rockets, and again, my big thing is that shooting percentages are not always a sticky stat season to season. I'm selling now on Eric Gordon right now, because there's a decent chance that this is the peak. This is the highest his value is going to be. If that 3-point percentage starts to drop down, if he's shooting 39% from three next year, it's not going to be the same. So I'm selling now if I'm the Rockets. And if I'm the Rockets, I'm also saying, look at what he's doing. This should be a first round pick. And I'm seeing if I can get that all the way up until the deadline.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And I again, hold it till 2:30, because you can get 2 seconds at any point. That's easy. And his contract also isn't so big that it's like, well, we got to go get a third team because it's real messy on the side. Like it's not even like that. You might still have OKC sitting there with 20 million in space offering to help facilitate at that point. Which maybe in those picks move, one of those picks moves off to them. But that's the major point, is that that'll still be sitting there very late, and leading up to the deadline.
The Raptors are looking to be buyers with Goran Dragic on the trade market. They want to use his contract and attach potentially a pick to it and see if they can go get somebody. They apparently, again, according to Jake Fisher, were in negotiations to try to land Miles Turner from the Indiana Pacers before he was dealing with foot issues. So obviously that's a concern with the big man. And a guy you might know, Robert Williams, has been mentioned as a guy that's on the list of the Raptors' big man targets. What do you think about that? Rather than trying to sell Dragic, you use him as a part of a package to absorb salary and go get somebody. Well,
See, I
I
thought you were
figure
going to
we'll
say,
get
what
to
do you
that.
think about the Robert Williams part? Because I don't know if you could see me because I was making a very ugly face, uglier than my face usually is. The Celtics are not going to trade Robert Williams. They're certainly not going to trade him to watch the Raptors build a ridiculously long, quick, athletic defensive juggernaut around Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, and Robert Williams. Get out of here. This is guaranteed. This came from the Toronto side of, we like Robert Williams. And this may have been one where, hey, we like Robert Williams, and the Celtics are like, cool, we like Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby and your first round pick. What do you think? And they were like, all right, see you later. Enjoy, the rest of your day. The Dragic part, that makes sense. Dragic alone at 19 million, no value there. Teams will just say, forget it. I will wait for him to get bought out. There's no reason. Dragic is the salary match to get yourself a first round pick for a player. That's now value. That makes sense. You could see, that being a way that goes. Totally makes sense why Toronto would want a big, right? Where they've been kind of, I don't even want to say getting by because they've been playing well with really Siakam playing a lot at the 5, but I don't know how sustainable that is. And if you're talking about playing against Joel Embiid in the playoffs or something like that, that's not tenable. So that turns into, if you could go get a real big for Dragic and a pick, go get it done if you're Toronto. I think I say it all the time. I could see them going a lot of different directions over the next week. I could also see them saying, we'll just mostly sit this out and, let's see what comes the rest of this year and into the summer. But I do 100% believe Goran Dragic will be on a different team. Today's the 2nd, so slightly more than a week from now via trade or via buyout.
If you are a Mavs fan who has been heavily rumored to be the landing spot for Goran Dragic, if he does get bought out, you're hoping for one of two things. You're hoping for, number one, no trade from the Raptors, and then he just gets bought out by Toronto, or number two, a trade with a team that doesn't want him, that trade that just sees him as an expiring contract, and then that team would buy him out. That's what you're looking for if you are, say, a Dallas Mavericks fan or a fan of any team that would hope to go get him on the buyout market. Now, it's possible he gets traded to a team that wants to keep him, and then obviously that will have a domino effect on the buyout market, which we'll be talking about in just a couple of weeks.
No, we're not going to get too deep into the buyout market yet. Let's get past the trade deadline first, and then we can start talking about a whole bunch of guys that would get bought out and make a minimal impact on teams as they go forward to the
Robert
playoffs.
Covington, described as the most likely Trailblazer to be dealt before the deadline. Not much momentum on a Yusuf Nurkic or Nurkic trade. Ben McLemore's name has come up, but obviously he's not going to carry a ton of value. Robert Covington being an interesting guy. This is another one where, kind of like Harrison Barnes, kind of like Jeremy Grant, a lot of teams could talk themselves into, Robert Covington, we could plug him in, right, to our system, to whatever that system is, and figure out a way to make it work. He's not going to carry a ton of value. It's not like he's setting the world on fire this season or anything. But skill set wise, I think there's teams out there that are looking for what he does. So it's not a surprise to me at all that he's the guy that's the most likely to be traded.
Yeah, it's what's tough for the Blazers is they don't have anything else to go to if they were to trade Nurkic, unless they get a big back. So that makes sense. That Covington is there, both expiring guys. I think you have to say, all right, what's the chances we're keeping these guys after this year, and what's the chances we're keeping them on decent value contracts? Because if you're giving them up or you're going to re-sign them to big money, that is tough. I mean, I just went through it. So this team already has just the next couple years, they already have over $400 million, almost $500 million tied up in Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Norman Powell. That's it. Those three guys over the next several seasons. Then you've got to re-sign Anthony Simons this offseason, and that's going to be probably $15 million a year starting. So you can't tie up that kind of money in four guys who are guards and re-sign Nurkic and re-sign Covington. It just becomes too much. That's why I think they'll move Norman Powell. That's why I also think they're going to trade at least one, if not both, of Nurkic or Covington. Nurkic makes a little more sense because if you can get him back on a similar-ish deal, 12 to 15 million, ideally you'd front load that one, maybe start it at 15 and have it go down, $1 million or so annually. then you're in a pretty good place where that starts to make a
All
lot
right,
of
we'll see
sense.
what Portland winds up doing. They do take on my Lakers tonight, and so we'll get another look at them. But Patrick Beverley.
Kind of a big game,
Uh-huh.
right, in the play-in.
It's
The way, I mean, the standings are looking, it's, you know, it doesn't seem like it
no,
should be a big game for play-in
it's
purposes,
a
but it kind of is.
embarrassingly big game. I guess I should say, yeah.
Yeah,
That's really
for both
for all
teams.
parties involved.
Yeah.
It's like this is a big game that nobody wants to be a big game. So we'll. Oh,
Yep.
but that's the
Yeah.
season we've had.
But
Yes.
alas, here we are.
Patrick
Yep.
Beverley, the Minnesota Timberwolves are considering trading him before he hits free agency, which makes sense to some degree. They've had conversations as well
Mhm.
regarding Malik
Sure.
Beasley. The Timberwolves have not been bad this season, although get ready to do your ugly face again, Keith. Marcus Smart has been mentioned as a target for Minnesota that would fill Beverley's role. I don't know that Minnesota gets to Marcus Smart. I don't know that there's a huge market out
Yeah.
there for Patrick Beverley either, but just something to note that they are kind of poking around, seeing what they can find for players that might not be there long term in Patrick Beverley.
Yeah, I think Beverly,
Mm-hmm.
it's similar to Covington and Nurkic, what we just talked about. It starts to look like, all right, what are we going to do with him this summer? Because if we're going to have to pay him a lot of money, now we're getting into a spot where we've got Russell and Towns on big contracts. Anthony Edwards, he's still got a couple more years on his rookie scale, but because he was the number one overall pick, that's not one of these $5 million steal of a rookie steal deals. It's still a steal for how good he is, but it's not that big of a steal. So that's where you start looking at that. Marcus Smart, now obviously make a ton of sense there. He'd be great for them. The problem is, what can they send back to Boston
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense? They don't. I mean, Boston's not probably going to want Patrick Beverley because he's, I think, at this point,
Yeah.
worse than Marcus Smart, and he is also needs paid. And you just gave Smart an extension, so that one doesn't make a lot of sense. The Malik Beasley stuff, maybe ish. I don't know. I don't know where that would go either. But I mean, that's their pieces along with Torian Prince in his expiring
Mm-hmm.
contract. Minnesota could still get something done if they really wanted to here at the deadline because they've got interesting contracts that they could put together to go make something happen. Plus, you would think they might be a little more open to trading a pick just because you're really trying to win now
Yeah, I mean,
around
if you take a
Towns,
look at
Russell, and
the
Edwards.
standings, they're a game and a half back of the Denver Nuggets right now to lock in a playoff spot and not be in the play-in tournament. That's a lot of incentive right there. Just the Wolves are not a team that's had success in a long time.
Big
To
time.
make the playoffs would be big for them, and so if
Yeah.
there's the opportunity there to get a deal done that they think would help them jump up to that 6 seed or perhaps even I mean maybe they could get to the 5 seed. They're not that far off. 3 games away from it, but
Maybe.
if there's an opportunity to secure a playoff position right now, I would think that Minnesota's going to look very strongly at it.
Yeah, I think more important for them too is getting that assured playoff spot is huge because I don't know that I want to have to be one or try
Mm-hmm.
to go through both the Clippers and the Lakers in the play-in tournament. That's just I mean, we know anything can happen in a one-game scenario, and that's just you're asking a lot, for this young Minnesota team. And then all of a sudden, it could have been, man, we're right there for the playoffs, and now we're not even going at all. We're back in the lottery again, and at the very end of the lottery with really poor odds to move up. So that would maybe have me slightly more motivated to do something. It doesn't need to be a all
Mm-hmm.
in kind of trade of like, let's go, throw everything we can at, but if you could go get something that pluses up your rotation a little bit and maybe get you to chase down Denver or Dallas, yeah,
Your
absolutely go
Boston
for it.
Celtics are rumored to be looking for landing spots for Dennis Schroeder and Josh Richardson. I know.
I'm shocked.
It's
I
like
tell
we've
you,
never
shocked.
said this before, but Dennis Schroeder could be on the move by the Boston Celtics. Framework, though, here. Schroeder to Chicago for Troy Brown Jr. and a second-round pick has circulated around the league. Jazz mentioned as a destination for Richardson. That makes sense. Like if you're in on Harrison Barnes, it would make sense that you're also interested perhaps in Josh Richardson. What do you think about those landing spots? Chicago for Schroeder with Troy Brown Jr. and then maybe working something with Utah for Josh Richardson.
Yeah, the Utah one, I just don't know what comes back. I assume it's Joe Ingles as a salary match, but you got to give me something else. Josh Richardson plays a key role for this team, that salary matching this summer if they want to go star hunting. So you need to give me something else back that makes more sense there. Schroeder, yeah, I mean this is just they're talking now to any teams that need point guards with a week to go before the deadline. Hey, you need some bench scoring and or point guard. Hey, what about Dennis Schroeder? What do you think? And that whole deal there is that gets them almost out of the luxury tax. If you think Jaylen Brown doesn't make it, but that's what that really is. That becomes a salary dump. Chicago puts Brown in because that becomes their salary matching. But yeah, that's where that one is going. And it's the same thing with the Cleveland rumors, where he would slide into the to the newly created Ricky Rubio table player exception, if that's where the Cavs how they wanted to structure, and if they wanted to throw back Kevin Pangos or something like that just to lower their tax bill or keep them out of the tax. You could see this coming together. But yeah, I think I continue to believe, again, like I said with a couple other guys, a week or so from now, Dennis Schroeder will not be on the Celtics.
It just makes too much sense for them to move off of him. Jumping over to my Lakers, yep. They're trying to find a home for Kent Beal.
Sorry, I shouldn't have laughed. It's just, I mean, okay.
They're trying to find a home for Kent Bazemore, but this is not a surprise. They're just trying to open up a roster spot. It's not like they are looking to get anything done here. Don't assume that there would be anything coming back is what I'm trying to get to here. This would be just trying to open up a roster spot. So searching for a home for Kent Bazemore. Bazemore has played okay in some of the recent games that he's been plugged into. But yeah, they'll try to find some place. It may cost less to find a home for Kent Bazemore than it costs for DeAndre Jordan. And so it makes sense that they would consider moving him.
Sure.
And they've also been listed as a suitor for Paul Millsap if he gets bought out. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Millsap turns 37 the day of the trade deadline and has not looked good, and the Lakers have already struck out on a lot of their older veterans. So I don't know about that, but again, it also mentions that Chicago seems to be the destination for Paul Millsap if he gets bought out, or at least there's some connections there. But in any event, the Lakers trying to free up a roster spot in lieu of finding anything bigger, which is what we are probably projecting, that they're not going to be able to find a bigger trade. Moving off of one of the end of the bench guys in order to open up a roster spot is probably the move we see from them.
Yep. Hello, Sam Presti. We got to trade. This could even be one where it too becomes, it'll get reported as they're trading Wayne Ellington, DeAndre Jordan, probably not Ellington. I think he could still play a slight helpful role as a shooter, but Kent Bazemore, DeAndre Jordan as one trade to the Thunder, but it really is two separate deals for like a pick each and a second rounder, nothing major, but that's how you pay to get them sent there, and then the Thunder throw back some
top 55 protected
up,
second rounder, the rights to a player that nobody's heard of.
Exactly.
And, things.
That's it. Yeah, rights to some guy who will never come over. And that's where you go, and that's how they go, and then the Thunder will waive both of those guys, and off they'll finish wherever they finish. But yeah, I mean that's I think where we're headed with this, and we always say this. I know I poked fun at buyout season a couple minutes ago, but buyout season does matter a little bit more for the Lakers because guys are still going to look at it and say still LeBron and AD and Russ could still figure it out and chase a title, and it's LA. Guys love living there, so and presumably there'd be minutes. I'm with you though. I don't know that Millsap's the guy. You've already got other options.
Markieff Morris, right? The best buyout player ever. Helped the Lakers out in the playoffs the year that they won it.
PJ Brown would have a say Celtics in 2008, but I can see why that's not as fond a memory for you. So you went somewhere else.
All right, let's go to the Pelicans. They've been linked to Eric Gordon. Interesting.
Sure.
Here's what gets me. Okay, they've been linked to Eric Gordon. They've been linked to CJ McCollum. Now there's links to Harrison Barnes as well. It seems like the Pelicans are positioning themselves to be a buyer at the trade deadline, and it makes sense if they're looking for long-term pieces. But I don't know if I'm the Pelicans, if I want to do my shopping right now and then risk potentially changing my lottery position, because I don't think they're suddenly going to become a playoff team this year or anything like that. Who knows what the situation's going to be? Do we see Zion this year or not? What's going to happen there? If I'm the Pelicans, if there's an opportunity here that you can't pass up, maybe you swoop in on it, but otherwise, I think I'd prefer to do my shopping in the off season and not risk worsening my lottery odds.
Yeah, I agree with you. A guy like Covington makes sense to me
Mm-hmm.
because of the 1 year nature of his contract, unless you're really certain you can get him at a pretty good deal coming back.
Sure.
But if you could get CJ McCollum and you really believe, like, hey, I think this is the guy to help lift us and put us where we want to be, well, then you also weaken Portland, who then
True.
you could. They're only 2 games behind the Blazers right now. So you chase them down, you get into the play in, and then kind of take your chances from there. But yeah, if you're going to do anything, it's got to be Gordon because that's a couple more years. Be honest, when Barnes has another year left, that's why those ones make sense to me. But there's a lot of buzz going around New Orleans right now. They're looking to do a lot of different stuff. So let's see what that ultimately comes out to. But they're trying for sure to do something, get involved here. As they I guess want to be in the play in. But you just gotta it's gotta be stuff that can
Could
help
they
in
be
this
talking
season.
themselves into, we make up this gap with Portland, we get the 10 spot, and Zion comes back, and then we're off and running, and then we're making some noise in the playoffs? Might that be the ultimate goal for the Pelicans right now?
I mean, maybe
That's what
that's
I
just
think
putting
too.
an awful lot on Zion, expecting, I mean, it's February 2nd. He hasn't played now, and we're getting close to, well, I guess he played at the end of last year, but we're getting, close to a year of him being out. And that starts to really, to me, says like, look, we get anything out of him the rest of the way. Great. That's a bonus. But yeah, I mean, I think it's more about we look like next year. We talk about it sometimes. The trade deadline's really getting a jump on free agency in the offseason. And that could be a way of, all right, let's see how McCollum looks alongside Brandon Ingram. Let's see what it looks like with Eric Gordon coming off our bench. Let's, see what these lineup combinations look like. It seems like Josh Hart's the main guy that they're kind of dangling out there. That's because he's got that very unique contract where he's non-guaranteed next year, then non-guaranteed with a player option the year after that, which is basically as close
Yeah.
as we're getting to a Major League Baseball mutual option ever in the NBA, because he could opt in and then immediately be waived and would not cost anybody anything. But yeah, it's one of those, I think, if you're the Pelicans, just be cautious. Don't go crazy right now, because I'm not sure it's going to have the payoff you
Let's
want.
jump to Phoenix and talk about the Suns. And I wholeheartedly agree. That's why I didn't add much to that about the Pelicans. 100% am in agreement with what you said there. The Phoenix Suns still looking to move Dario Saric, and they're looking to upgrade their wing depth. Now, the Suns are in a nice position, right? They've won 11 in a row. They're at the top of the Western Conference. They're playing better than any team in the NBA right
Mm-hmm.
now. So they're dealing from a position of strength in that they don't have to do anything. They could just say, we're good as is. Everything's great. We
Yep,
don't have to make a move. But if something
exactly.
does fall in their laps, they could make a move. And Eric Gordon, again, mentioned as a possible target. That wouldn't be a bad fit. He's in one. That's a destination where Eric Gordon being 33 doesn't matter as much, because the Suns have a chance to win it all right now.
Yep.
And if you can go get him, I think he would be a
Yep.
nice fit for them. He could give them a little bit more firepower. And he's the kind of guy who knows, in the middle of a playoff series, he could come in off the bench, get hot from behind the arc, and turn what might have been a loss otherwise into a win. And so if I'm Phoenix, that's definitely worth taking a serious look at.
Yeah, and again, I'll be a broken record here, but if you can do it for Sarge, which is a no production loss trade, then you do it. And I wondered, what else,
Mm-mm.
because that's not enough alone. So what else are they going to add to that? That's where Jalen Smith at 4.5 million and not being a part of the team's long-term future can really factor in, because you could toss him into a deal and really make that work. But yeah, I mean, you look at that Suns team, there's just not a whole lot they need. It's just, if I'm going to get something, it's because that guy is a clear upgrade over somebody else I already have. And Eric Gordon, in my opinion, would be a clear upgrade over Landry Shamet as kind of your bench scoring guard. So go get it done. Great if you can, especially without giving a rotation player, and then figure out the rest later. They're in a position where that's it, and really that too gets a little funny, because then if you're not as clear a couple years from now, when it'd be kind of Booker, Bridges, and Ayton on your books, because if you win the championship, Gordon's contract becomes fully guaranteed. So let's see where that goes. But I mean, you're in a pretty good place if you're the Suns, because if you win a championship, you don't really care too much about paying Eric Gordon $20 million
Exactly.
2 years from now.
That's something you're not going to worry about if you're winning a championship in Phoenix, which would be incredible for that franchise. New York, this is nothing new here, but now that they've got Cam Reddish, they're looking to free up playing time for him. And Nerlens Noel, Evan Fournier, Never Google, Alec Burks, and Kemba Walker are all available.
Have you ever Googled
years ago once
Evan
when that
Fournier?
Never Google thing first went around, and then I totally got it. I
Yeah.
went, that's
I
why.
did too.
That's why.
Yep.
You never do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. Yeah.
do it.
Same.
Nope.
Don't do it.
It's
not worth it if you're listening. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these guys in trade, we heard this the other day. This was famously where Bobby Marks made Zach Lowe pause on his own podcast of like, whoa, when he mentioned, throwing 3 of those guys at the Lakers for I mean, I suppose that's probably still there if they really wanted to do that. I don't think that'll happen. I think the more likely one would have been John Wall, considering he's a Kentucky guy and the Knicks' fondness for Kentucky players. But yeah, I mean, my guess is this is more of a, hey, this is out there. If anybody's interested, give us a call. And, maybe somebody loses a wing in the next few days and it's like, yeah, Fournier looks okay, or Alec Burks looks all right. Probably Burks more, just a much easier, easily moved contract. But yeah, if you're kind of sitting there, why not? Kind of make it happen. But yeah, let's. My guess is they're probably Knicks look roughly the same.
And lastly, Memphis not expected to do anything significant, which isn't a surprise. This is a team that probably just needs seasoning, right? They've already been great so far this season, surpassed expectations. You don't want to do anything to mess that up, to mess up what you've got going. If you can make a very deliberate move that adds in something that you think is the perfect fit, then okay. But otherwise, you've got to feel good about the trajectory that you're on right now as is. But it is noted that other teams are likely to call on Jarrett Culver to see if he's somebody who is available.
Hold on. Let's get Jake Fisher's phrasing correctly here. Rival teams may call on lottery pick Jarrett Culver. Yeah, former lottery pick, and the may call. So this says to me, somebody, whether it was Jarrett Culver's team or it was the Grizzlies, was like, hey, people might call about Jarrett Culver. Like, if you get those offers in now, somebody might call. And I'm sure Memphis is sitting there going, anyone? Bueller? Like, for the younger audience, it's a Ferris Bueller reference. Go watch the movie. It's great. Great movie. But yeah, no one's trading for Jarrett. Get out of here. This is nonsense of the highest degree. Like, and I'm not picking on Jake at all. Like, his reporting, which was the basis of our entire show today, is phenomenal. And he's been knocking it out of the park since last offseason. But like, this was hey Jake, guys might be interested in Jarrett Culver, and then all right, let's throw it in at the end of this piece. But yeah, may call, sure. This isn't even our showing interest in. Like that's a then it would have been like, really? All right, who? So
sometimes favors have to get done, right? And that could be what's going on today. And it's good.
Sure.
We always say read between the lines, try to think about who benefits, where it could be coming from. This is just a great example of that, putting it out there like, hey, just so everybody knows, somebody could call here. So if you have any interest, you better pick up that phone because somebody else could call us. It could happen. Yeah.
Could. Yeah. So if you want Jarrett Culver, you better start ringing up the Memphis area code real quick.
Yes, indeed. All right, Keith, we got through a lot. That was a lot. And I expect there to be a lot more as we get closer to that February 10th trade deadline. Gosh, we are almost there. I hope we get an active trade deadline. We'll see, but I would fully expect the rumors to continue flying as we get closer and closer. When's the earliest that you think we'll actually see a deal? I would think within the next few days, we could see somebody actually pull the trigger on something. Not everything happens on deadline day.
I just got a tweet notification and I was like, oh my God, is it right now? That would have been so perfect. It unfortunately is not. Josh Giddey and Cade Cunningham, rookie of the month, though. Good for them.
Yeah.
Maybe this weekend. Like, by then we'll be in deadline week. because we'll be a week out. That's generally when stuff that has been kind of close, teams start to get a sense of, or we may not have better. Let's move on this rather than taking it all the way down to the deadline. Because then there is a thought around the league of, hey, if I can make the deal now, let's make it now. And then I get a couple extra days of benefit of having these guys that can get a few games in before the All-Star break. And we kind of go from there. So let me mute that because now everybody's going to saying rookie of the month. So, but yeah, it's, that would be my guess, somewhere we're in that range.
All right. That wraps it up for today. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Make sure you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel, turn on those notifications, and follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.